Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about something vitally important to the use of nonviolent discipline tools, and that is attunement. This is possibly the most important video that I'm going to make because understanding attunement and being attuned to your child or the children in your class is the thing that's going to determine whether your discipline is really effective or not. Attunement is central to the use and effectiveness of discipline tools. Let me explain more about this. We've been talking in the past couple of videos about how important it is that children feel safe with us. But how do we achieve that? How do we work with children who possibly don't feel safe in our environment? For example, in our context, people live with very high levels of violence and trauma. And that spills over into the classroom too, where children are struggling to focus because they're dealing with so much trauma. I hear from teachers how sometimes they are walking towards a child and the child will actually go like this as if they're expecting to be hit. That's the reality that we live with, that there is just so much violence, so much trauma. So how do we work with children who are traumatized? And how do we work with children even who are not traumatized but still need to feel safe in order to learn better? How do we make our own children feel secure, feel safe enough to get on with the business of living and learning and not be distracted by feeling in danger? Some of you may be wondering why I keep talking about children needing to feel safe and emphasizing that we shouldn't be punishing them physically. Perhaps in the country that you're watching from, that's not really an issue because it's been against the law for ages and people don't do that so much. But in our context here in Africa, it is incredibly common for people to be hitting their children. And most of us also grew up with corporal punishment. When I do workshops with parents or teachers and I ask them a question like, okay, so who of you were hit or hurt as children as a form of discipline? I can tell you now that almost everybody in the venue will be raising their hand. That's our context. How do we make children feel safe with us? For so many adults in our context, that is difficult because they themselves didn't feel safe as children. And it's quite hard to give something that you didn't get. I'll speak more about that in future videos. For now, I want to look at what is it that makes children feel safe? What is it that makes children feel safe in our classrooms? What is it that builds a secure attachment between a child and their parent that is so vital to human well-being? Now, it seems the building block of secure attachment is something called attunement. Mary Ainsworth discovered this, and a significant amount of further research has confirmed it. Attunement builds secure attachment. Now, attunement means being in tune with the child in a way that your responses to them fit with their needs and their signals. Another name for attunement is sensitive responsiveness, and it's a thing that makes people feel safe. When your responses fit with their needs and signals, children feel safe with you. What about teachers? Here's an interesting thing. I was really quite excited about this when I came across this in the course of research. In the 1970s, a researcher called Koonin looked at discipline in groups because group management is different from working with individual children. So he was looking at teachers and classroom management. And the question they were asking was, what distinguishes effective teachers from teachers who are not effective? And how they defined effective teachers was the teachers in whose classes children do well, both academically and behaviorally. There was definitely a teacher effect. Certain teachers were getting better results than others. So what was it? Was it a particular thing that they did in class? Was it a particular classroom management or behavioral skill that they used? In the end, it didn't seem to be about any particular skill that they used. They used a range of skills. Different teachers used different skills. Koonin identified that a characteristic he called with-itness was a better predictor of teacher efficacy than any particular skill. In other words, the teachers of the children who behave well and did well academically were teachers who exhibited this quality. What is withitness? Kuhnen described it as the teacher's awareness of what is going on in the class and their ability to respond appropriately and promptly to the needs of the students. So that's what I got excited about, because I was saying that's attunement. It's the same thing. The thing that makes teachers successful is actually the same thing that makes parents successful. For best results for the children, the adults needs to be attuned to them. In other words, in tune with their needs and signals and responding appropriately to that. Let's look at some examples so we understand this better. The baby cries and mom realizes that they're hungry and picks them up and feeds them. Or perhaps they didn't even need to cry because mom noticed certain signals that they make before they get to crying that indicate that they're hungry, and she picked them up and she fed them. Now for the baby, this is amazing because they couldn't speak, they couldn't say what they needed, but mom read it and she understood. And that must feel wonderful for them. I needed something and I showed mom that I needed that and she got it and she fed me. Here's another example. The baby's fussing around and mom wonders if they're hungry, but the baby turns their head away when mom tries to feed them, and she watches the baby to try and read their signals. She sees that they're looking a little flushed and realizes that they're actually hot. She takes off a jacket and the baby suddenly feels relieved. Again, the baby showed a signal. The mom made the effort to understand it and responded appropriately to their needs. Another day, the baby doesn't want food, they're not hot and bothered, but they're trying desperately to get dad's attention, and dad sees this and he knows what she wants. She wants to play with him. And so he plays with her, but when he sees that she's starting to turn her head away and starting not to make eye contact and showing other little signals which show that she's had enough, he doesn't push it and overstimulate her. He backs off and maybe they transition to a quiet cuddle. Those are all examples of children sending little signals and their parents picking them up and reading those signals. If, on the other hand, dad felt like playing and baby had had enough and dad carried on and baby was starting to get overstimulated, that wouldn't be such good attunement. Now, of course, we don't always get it right. There are many, many examples where our children send us signals and we don't quite get it, and that's absolutely fine, because what we want is, in the bigger picture, most of the time your child feels that they can get through to you, that you'll get them, and that you'll respond to them, and that makes them feel safe with you. This is not only applicable to babies. Mom might get home from work and see that the children are cranky and needy and whiny, and instead of getting cross with them, realize they haven't seen me for hours. I need to give them some love and attention. They need to be reassured that they're important and special and loved. So instead of getting cross, she spends some time with them, playing with them, and just being there with them, and then they settle down. These are just some examples of attunement. But remember, for something to qualify as attunement, it needs to be a response that's in tune with the child's needs. And why I say this is that some parents are quite good at reading the signals, but are actually responding to the child in line with their own agendas and not with the child's needs. Now, please, it's fine to consider your needs. In fact, we should consider our needs as well as the child's needs, but not at the expense of the child's needs. And the example I'm going to give there is where a parent is in tune with the child's signals. They see that the child is sensitive. They see that the child is afraid of something, and then use that fear to coerce the child or control the child's behavior. That's not attunement. Attunement would be seeing that the child is sensitive and not overwhelming them. Seeing that the child is afraid and responding to that with comfort and protection, not to use that fear to manipulate them. The parent needs to be the safe place. Now, does that mean that we have to respond to children's signals by giving them whatever they want? Very definitely not. The child might signal that they want something, but it might be something that's not good for them. Sometimes attunement means not giving a child what they want and giving them what they need instead. An example might be putting them to bed on time or saying no to something that they want. Giving a child everything they want is not good attunement, because children also need boundaries, they need limits, they need us to hold the bigger picture of what is safe and appropriate for them. So good attunement is responding to a child's signals, but giving them what they need. How do you do both? Well, you could give them what they need, but also talk them through it a little bit. Listen to them, reflect back that they want something and that they can't have it now, and that that's difficult for them. In future videos, we'll be talking about active listening, which is a great way to help your child with these moments where maybe they want something and you know that it's best that they don't have that thing. You can listen to them, understand them, help them through that moment without giving them whatever they want if you know it's not good for them. So when it comes to discipline, whether in the home or in the classroom, attunement is very important. It's the thing that makes children feel safe. It's the thing that makes all of us feel safe. Whether your responses fit with their needs and signals is more important than which skill you use. In fact, one skill might be a great skill for one child and the wrong skill for another. So what I'm saying here is that the nonviolent skills are not good or bad skills in themselves. It's not going to be about you should or shouldn't use timeout, or you should or shouldn't use praise or reward. All of those skills may be fine to use, or they may not. The question we should be asking is, does this skill fit with the needs of this child right now? So in future videos, we'll be learning about useful, practical, non-violent discipline skills. But remember, the key to successful non-violent discipline is not one particular skill. It is whether those skills fit with what the child is needing at that time. And so your connection with the child and your attunement is the really important thing. You're going to get tired of me saying this. When I'm talking about any given discipline skill, I'm going to be reminding you about attunement. I'm going to be asking you to think about whether the use of that skill, no matter how fantastic the skill sounds, actually fits with what the needs of your child are. I'm taking the approach that nonviolent discipline skills like praise or reward or timeout or problem solving or making amends are not good or bad skills in themselves. They're good or bad according to how well they fit with your child's needs. That's all for now. If you would like to find out more about nonviolent discipline, visit our website at www.peacediscipline.com or subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.